Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asato ma Sadgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrutyorma Amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gaganasadrusham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekan Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadguruntam Namami. Pranam. Namaste everyone. We at Advaita Academy welcome you all on the 1 month long Oneness Festival, a global celebration of Adi Shankaracharya Ji. In this session, we have a live talk from Dr. Subramony on relevance of Advaita for our times, followed by a Q&A. After that, we have a video on introduction to Vaidyanath Ashtakam by Swamini Pramananda Ji. For the new attendees, we have 4 different sessions every day, 2 in the morning at 6 a.m. Indian Standard Time and 2 in the evening at 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. We also have an extra music session on the weekend. Please attend all the sessions. Dr. R. Subramony is Associate Professor and Head of Department of English, Madura College, Madurai, Tamil Nadu. He has authored and published 14 books, mostly on the topics related to Indian philosophy. He has a PhD on Aurobindo and is a member of MHRD Grants in Aid Committee. Dr. Subramany has delivered many talks on Vedanta at BHU and IIAS Shimla. You may type in your questions and comments in the chat box for Dr. Subramany Ji. I now request Dr. Subramany Ji to please start his talk. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Sri Subramany Ji, can you please start?
Suti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankar. We live in times of crisis. The world civilization is in a very critical phase. On one side, as a nation, Bharatvarsha, India is facing a lot of problems. There are too many forces at work which want to destroy this nation. They are adharmic forces, opposed to our Sanatana Dharma. Our nation is also in the threat of disintegration. On other side, the humanity also has a lot of problems. Advaita Vedanta has solutions to all these problems. Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada has, through his Prasthanatraya, his commentaries on the Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and the Upanishads, and through his life, through the maths that he established, he has taught us how to lead a virtuous life, disciplined life, a divine life. What are the major characteristic features that we can discern from the life of Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada that could be useful to us in this time of crisis? My talk on the relevance of Advaita Vedanta first would center on the life of Shankara and its relevance to our times, then practical Vedanta of Swami Vivekananda, and Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi's message. Shankaracharya taught us the value of national integration. As a nation, we lack patriotism now. We lack this love for the nation. We must have a firm faith in the unity and integrity of India, of Bharatvarsha. Adi Shankaracharya was born in Kaladi, Kerala. And from Kaladi, he migrated, he went to Madhya Pradesh where he studied, he sought his guru and studied under Govinda Bhagavad Pada. Now, from the southernmost tip of India, he went in search of his guru Govinda Bhagavad Pada. Govinda Bhagavad Pada was the disciple of Gaudapada Acharya. Tradition says that Gaudapada Acharya was from Kashmir, who wrote the Karika to the Mandukya Upanishad. Now, in the thirst that Adi Shankaracharya had for knowledge, he went from the tip of Kerala to Madhya Pradesh, near the Narmada river. And Buddhism was there all over this country. Shankara Bhagavad Pada defeated Buddhism. He studied Brahma Sutra Bhashya under Govinda Bhagavad Pada and defeated Buddhism not through violence, but through logical argument. Our great tradition asks us to not to resort to violence, but logical arguments to defeat the opponents. Shankara Bhagavad Pada went up to Kashmir. In Kashmir, you have the Shankaracharya hill. And even the Muslims respected it. From there, he went to Sharda Pit. Sharda Pit is in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. It was the citadel of learning in India. Any Acharya had to defeat the scholars of Sharda Pit. That building is still there in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Shankara Bhagavad Pada was the first scholar from the south to defeat scholars at Sharda Pit. The Saddarshanas, the great schools of philosophy of Bharatvarsha, all the representatives would be there, and Shankara Bhagavad Pada defeated the Buddhists, the Jains, and from the representatives of the Astika schools of philosophy to establish the supremacy of Advaita Vedanta. From Kerala to Kashmir, he went and he established mutts in the 4 parts of India to show the unity and integrity of the nation. And in Manisha Panchagam, Shankara Bhagavad Pada tells he bows in front of a Chandala and considers the Chandala as his guru, thereby giving us the view that the divine is there in all human beings, respecting the divine in everyone. Now, Shankaracharya was a great philosopher and a spiritual master. Why? Because he brought a permanent change in the outlook on mankind. He delved deep. There is a soulless outlook of modern life. And Acharya Shankara has the answer to this. He dived deep into the root of the cause of dukkha or suffering and said that sorrow is due to the absence of the divine element in human life. This is from my book Paramahamsa. The divine element is required as the foundation of all human endeavors. Since we have banished God from existence, our endeavors do not succeed. Swami Krishnananda of Swami Shivananda Divine Life Society often said that Shankaracharya, Adi Shankaracharya, was a scientist of consciousness. And he wanted people to understand that transcendental and spiritual reality is a necessity for happiness and unity. His answer to the problem of mankind was the philosophy of Atman. He wanted to establish the existence of the Atman as the universal principle behind the multivaried world The Atman is one. This unites mankind. This makes us connect with other human beings. This makes us sympathize with others, be affectionate, be duty conscious. The Atman is universal principle behind everything in the world. To live life is to live philosophy, said Shankara. And to live philosophy is to live in God. So, Shankara Bhagavad-pada asked us to see the same Atman in everyone. The teaching of Manisha Panchakam is that inside the Chandala also is the Atman, the same Brahman. When the self in me is the same as the self in everyone, there is only one self, then there are differences. This great philosophy of Advaita Vedanta makes us empathize with the suffering of other people, makes us be compassionate. Shankara Bhagavad-pada wrote commentaries on the Prasthanatraya, and using the commentaries, he taught us the philosophy of Upanishads, that Brahman Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, Yajnavalkya. And Shankaracharya also wrote devotional hymns. He wrote very inspiring hymns. And those hymns are, by those hymns, he taught us that bhakti and jnana both are important. And when we give importance to jnana, we should not diminish the importance to bhakti. And Shankara Bhagavad-pada's life is inspiring because he appears to us as a debater, as a great poet, as a philosopher. He had so many facets. As Radhakrishnan states in his History of Indian Philosophy, there have been few minds as universal as that of Adi Shankaracharya. And in the modern period, we have Swami Vivekananda, who spoke very highly about Adi Shankaracharya. Swami Vivekananda gave us this concept of practical Advaita. We all know that his guru Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was also a scientist of religion. He attained, his guru Totapuri gave him the experience of Brahman without form, Nirguna Brahman. And he went into a state of Samadhi. And he understood that Brahman with form and Brahman without form are one and the same. That the same Brahman pervades everywhere. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he he cleaned the latrine of a Chandala in the middle of the night. Because had he gone in the morning, the daytime, the Chandala would not have let him in. While cleaning the latrine of the Chandala, he kept saying, "Let me forget that I am a Brahmana. Let me be the lowest of the lowest. Let that ego vanish in me." And he swept the latrine of the Chandala. His disciple Swami Vivekananda gave us this universal principle of practical Vedanta. In a way, Swami Vivekananda is the Shankara of our times. Swami Vivekananda walked the length and breadth of the country. He learned about the problems of the people. And he talked about man-making education. He said, real Vedanta is the Vedanta that makes us see divinity in each human being. By seeing divinity in each human being, we start sympathizing with every human being. We see the self in us and the self in others as the same. Vivek, just as Shankaracharya, united different sections of the Hindu society and created a harmonizing philosophy. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Swami Vivekananda they synthesized different sections of Indian society and tried to create a harmonious nation. Vivekananda traveled the length and breadth of the nation, and he tried to create a great social reformation. He tried to cleanse the Hindu religion of its evils. He said, our religion is in the kitchen, our religion is in the cooking pot, our religion is don't touch me some. And his lectures on practical Vedanta are extremely inspiring. He opposed the practice of untouchability. You're shocked to see what was happening in Kerala. And Vivekananda said that this modern period of Indian history is the period in which this philosophy of Vedanta must reach the lowest of the low, the poorest of the poor. Like Shankara, there are so many examples in the life of Swami Vivekananda. For instance, Vivekananda was a guest in the guest house of Raja of Khatri. A courtesan, a Dasi woman, came to dance. Vivekananda left the place. The courtesan sang the song, "You who sees the divine in everyone, can you not see the divine in me?" Vivekananda immediately turned. The courtesan was a teacher for him, trying to tell him that divine is there in everyone. Vivekananda stayed in the huts of the sweepers. He ate food cooked by the poor people. He saw the problems, the ills of the nation. In Chicago, he spoke about the greatness of India, how India had given refuge to the Jews, to the Parsis, how our ancient philosophy said that just as all the rivers merge in the same ocean, all the religions lead to the same divine. When he was in the West, he spoke about the greatness of India. But when he was in India, he was very critical of so many of our social practices. He was deeply concerned that Advaita Vedanta should not be a mere theory. He wanted the youth to rise up. He said in Lahore, "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. Amritasya putraha. O ye children of immortality." This he used to quote often. He wanted India to rise and be a giant among the nations, but he found India in a very impoverished state, full of poverty, casteism, ill treatment of women. All this he wanted to get rid of. He spoke of all things often in his talks in India. Lectures from Colombo to Almora, I believe this one book contains problems to all the ills of India. If this is prescribed in all the universities and colleges of India, along with Sri Aurobindo's Foundations of Indian Culture, we will create a great new generation of character, of values. What we face in India today is a crisis of character. The youth are getting uprooted. They have lost their moorings. They have nobody to guide them. Our education also is a very Thomasic education, which tells them about only success in life. But what is real success? Many are committing suicide. Many are taking to drugs. It is because we don't give them value-based education. Study of the works of Swami Vivekananda, the literature of Subramony Roland said, it is the literature of power, the literature of strength, which can transform humanity. Vivekananda talked about the oneness of mankind. He said, real Advaita he always said, Advaita is the need of the hour, because Advaita gives strength. The Upanishads give strength. And that is the need of the hour. But real Advaita is an Advaita that makes every citizen understand his divine nature, his divine, the divinity that is there in him. He must understand. He must, the Katha Upanishad speaks or gives us the chariot imagery, how the senses are the reins. And once we lose control, once we lose control over the senses, then the chariot can end in an accident. We live very consumerist times when people want to enjoy life. Vedanta says that is Maya. The goal of life is self-realization. And once we understand the goal of life, our mind becomes becomes focused. In using very simple stories, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa taught us the message of the Upanishads. He said, just as the mother bird is always, the mother bird always concentrates on its children, on the chicks there, even though it's traveling everywhere, the mother bird's focus is always on the chicks. Similarly, our focus should be always on God. When we when we cut a jackfruit, if we touch it, it sticks to our hands. But when we apply oil and then cut the jackfruit, it will not stick. Similarly, Ramakrishna said, use power of jnana and face the world. The world will not affect you. Vivekananda talked about courage to the younger generation. Courage, courage, courage. That is the message of the Upanishads. For centuries, he said, our people have been exploited. We have not followed this great message of Vedanta. We have not understood the condition, the poor, the struggle, the suffering. In our times, Swami Ranganathananda ji has given us the message of Ramakrishna and Vivekananda to us in a very simple language. We have to read Swami Vivekananda's lectures from Colombo to Almora and his Madras talks, which contain solutions to many of the problems that we still face. A civilization is going through evolution. In the course of evolution, it will have all sorts of problems. But our goal should be an enlightened society, an enlightened civilization. That is the practical Vedanta of Swami Vivekananda. He talked about empowerment of women. He wanted women to come out of the kitchen. He wanted women to be empowered. He wanted the lower classes to be empowered. He did not want exploitation in the name of caste, class, or any other way. He wanted to harmonize different religions. He wanted to harmonize different sections of the society. He wanted us to be responsible, patriotic, nationalist, spiritual citizens, understanding that our essential nature is divine. The divinity is there inside everyone. And once we connect ourselves with our divine nature, then we can go high in the evolution of consciousness or spirituality. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, when we read his works, he was born near Madurai at Tiruchui. And when we read Ulladu Narpadu and Nan Yar, Bhagavan's teachings are very simple. He taught us that I asked this question, who am I? Am I this body? Am I this mind? Who am I? If I am this body, the body keeps changing. If I am this mind, the mind keeps changing. Then who am I? We live in times when there is a crisis of identity. People are facing this crisis of identity. Who am I? The family structure is breaking down. The younger generation also, they are confused. I believe that the teaching of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi has the answer to the confusion of the younger generation. I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the eternal consciousness. I am the self. The self or the Atman inside me is the self or Atman inside everyone. It is due to ignorance that I consider this limited body, the limited mind as me. It is due to ignorance. So long as I am connected to this limited body and limited mind, I will always be in ignorance. I will always be committing mistakes. So long as I am pampering this limited body and the limited mind, I will be committing mistakes. Bhagavan Ramana did not see any difference between man and woman. He solved the quarrels of monkeys. Tigers used to come to him and he used to pat their heads. And the life that he led, for him everything was self. Scholars used to come, great scholars, and do Brahma Sutra Parayana, but they were farmers and peasants standing outside. He asked them to come inside. The compassionate look that he gave them, even the princess did not get. He was least bothered. Many people with lot of knowledge of the Shastras used to come to him, but he was not bowled over. For him, the self alone is true. All this knowledge is part of ignorance. All knowledge, he said, is learned ignorance. Self alone is true. He said, the purpose of human birth is to realize the self. After Shankara, after 1,000 years of bhakti, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi stood solid as a rock in jnana. Ramana also was a great poet. His Tamil poetry is extraordinary. And you know that Srimati Indira Gandhi, when she came to Ramanashram, Srimati Indira Gandhi saw in Ramanashram the samadhi of a peacock, the samadhi of a cow, Lakshmi the cow, finally the samadhi of a crow. And Srimati Indira Gandhi, she was Prime Minister at the time in 1980, she said, I can understand Bhagavan constructing samadhi for a cow and a peacock, but for a crow, that means he saw divinity in creation, divinity in everything. It is as Bhagavan Ramana say, in dreamless sleep, who are you? Do you exist? It is your real nature. The dreamless sleep, that is your real nature. But when we wake up, this I comes. The I creates its own problems. Who are you? You Soham. You are divine. That is your real nature. But you forget your divine nature. You are caught by the limited body and mind and the cravings of the body and mind. But you are not the body and the mind. You are divine. But we don't understand it due to Maya. Coming out of this Maya is the challenge of life. One said, the purpose of human birth is to realize the self. It is a teaching of the ancient Upanishads. Bhagavan himself was not learned in the Shastras, but when these were read out to him, he said, oh, these are my experiences. He himself translated Bhagavan Shankara's Vivek Chudamani. And his Ulladu Narpadu and other writings in Tamil are known for their they are soaked in spirituality. Bhagavan Ramana also did not underestimate bhakti. He also wrote wonderful bhakti hymns in Tamil. And Arunachala was everything for him. And Sri Aurobindo, in our times, Sri Aurobindo was born in Calcutta, was educated in England. He returned, he was not interested in ICS. Sri Aurobindo edited Bande Mataram, in which he talked about India as a mighty Shakti. Then he had in Kashmir, when he accompanied the Maharaja of Baroda, a unique experience at Shankaracharya Hill. He wrote a poem, Advaita, based on that experience. Then when he was jailed in the Alipur bomb blast, he had an experience of Vasudeva everywhere. He saw Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, everywhere, in the jailer, in the judge, in everyone. Everything was Vasudeva. The deep experience of Brahman that he had made change his life completely. When he returned, when he edited Karma Yogi, he spoke about the spiritual regeneration of India. He also wrote about the Upanishads. When he came to Pondicherry, in Pondicherry years, he edited Arya from 1914 to 1921. They all run to more than 40 volumes. The famous book, The Life Divine, which contains a spiritual manifesto, he said his inspiration is the Advaita of the Upanishads. That the divine consciousness has come down. The divine consciousness is evolving. We are all evolving to that divine consciousness, which is immanent in us, which is hidden in us. And the divine consciousness is evolving, it is coming down. But in all stages, the divine Satchidananda is veiled. It is there in all stages. So the divine Satchidananda, Brahman, it is involving, that is coming down, and we are evolving to that Satchidananda level. But Satchidananda is there in everything. What we see is the evolution of consciousness. The universe, he said, is not the creation of Brahman, but the manifestation of Brahman. It's Brahman which has become this world. It is Brahman that is discovering itself. For it has nothing to discover because everything is itself. But we are born in bliss. The Upanishads say we live in bliss. Brahman is in a state of bliss. The divine consciousness, the Brahman, which is beyond time and space, has chosen to be limited by time and space. The divine, which is beyond form, has chosen here to be confined to form. But actually it is beyond time and space. And the divine consciousness is what we see is the evolution of consciousness. The divine, through the ignorance, inconscience, matter, life, mind, it is evolving to states higher than the mind. The mind is a very limited instrument, Sri Aurobindo says. We have to go beyond the mind. Mind is divisive. Mind is ignorance. It is a very limited instrument. We have to go beyond the mind. And the mind is the seat of the ego. The ego is the source of all problems. So long as ego is there, there cannot be any harmony. So we have, man is an intermediate state, mind is an intermediate state. Both have to be transcendent. And Sri Aurobindo said his inspiration is the Advaita of Upanishads. The intellect is a trap. The intellect is a snare. We have to go from intellect to intuition. We have to transcend, the consciousness has to change. We are in egoist consciousness. We are in body consciousness. We have to transform from this egoistic consciousness to divine consciousness. And the spiritual masters have time and again said that this is, see, Ramakrishna, Bhagavan Ramakrishna said that the almanac will tell you about rain, but if we squeeze the almanac, you will not get even a drop of water. Similarly, to realize the self, to realize the divine, that it is beyond the scriptures, beyond the Shastras. Studying of Shastra will help, but Bhagavan Ramakrishna, what Shastra did he study? Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, what Shastra did he study? It is beyond the scriptures. Bhagavan Ramana said that the Shastra Vasanas will be there when we study the Shastras. That also has to be transcended. And it is, Ramana said, realizing the self. He says, do you require any aid to look at your own image? It is like that. It is yourself that you are looking. Your real nature is the self. But due to ignorance, you don't understand it. And he said that the very purpose of all the scriptures is to understand that you are the self. When you know that you are the self, the study of all the scriptures is a waste, he said. All knowledge is learned ignorance, he said. The very purpose of human life is to realize the self, that you are Brahman. And Swami Vivekananda has said that repeatedly. Now, there are three, Pratibhashika Satya, Paramarthika Satya, Vyavaharika Satya. He said in the Indian mind has misused the Vyavaharika Satya concept. We have to understand that even in everyday life, we have to lead a divine life. In Vyavaharika Satya, certain people have misused, misappropriated, Swami Vivekananda said, for their own benefits. We have to create oneness in humanity. Sri Aurobindo also said that repeatedly. The same divine we have to see in everyone. The same divine exists in everyone. We have to, even good and evil, we have to see the divine behind the evil also, because everything is from the divine. And evil also has a purpose. We have to go beyond this ethical judgment of good and evil. There is divine behind the evil also. Everything, it is divine which has become this universe. When the divine has become this universe and everything is divine, we should not see any differences. So, having that samadarshani, that equanimity of vision, that is major purpose of, major goal of Vedanta, seeing humanity as one, the one humanity. Lord Krishna, in the famous Uttarpara speech of 1909, Lord Krishna told Sri Aurobindo that this message of Vedanta is the message which has been given to you. Earlier, it was hidden in the caves. It has now been given to you. You have to take it to the world. You were skeptical in the beginning. Now you have understood. This message of Vedanta, Sanatana Dharma, Lord Krishna tells Sri Aurobindo that it is because of Sanatana Dharma that India exists. So long as Sanatana Dharma is there, India will be there. When Sanatana Dharma perishes, India will perish. Sanatana Dharma is nationalism. This is the message of Lord Krishna to Sri Aurobindo in Alipur jail, which he reveals in Alipur in the famous Uttarpara speech of 1909. So the oneness of creation, which is the goal of Vedanta, is what we must inculcate in our everyday life. The universe is divine. The universe is not a creation of Brahman. The universe is the manifestation of Brahman. Sri Aurobindo says, Maya is the Shakti of Brahman. Maya is a Shakti in which Brahman limits itself in the world. The Brahman has become this world, limited world, using the Shakti of Maya. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I am Maya. I am the Lord of Maya. I am the Lord of Maya. And Sri Aurobindo says, Maya is the Shakti that Brahman uses to limit itself in the world. And this is evolving towards that Brahman. It is Brahman which is seeing itself. In Kashmiri Saivism, it is said that the universe is Shiva, who has seemingly forgotten his real identity. And then that Pratyabhijna theory, self-recognition. Shiva sees himself. So this nation, Sri Aurobindo said, India was created for the divine. Each nation has a purpose. India's purpose is it was created for the divine. In modern times, we had great gurus, Sri Aurobindo, Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, and then Narayana Guru of Kerala. Narayana Guru wrote such wonderful Advaitic works in Sanskrit, telling us to see the self in everyone. Narayana Guru of Kerala, he was not only a great social reformer, but also a spiritual reformer. And Life Divine is a work of Sri Aurobindo that we must all study, and in which he talks about evolution of consciousness, about seeing the divinity in everyone, in everything. Even matter is divine. Annam is Brahman. One of the best examples we have in Advaita Vedanta is Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, and the life he led, and his message. Ramana is a great teacher, the guru of gurus. Bhagavan has taught us not to discriminate one man to another, or based on gender, or caste, or class, or religion, but to see the self in everyone. We have no right to judge anybody, no right to pass judgments on. It is the ego which is responsible for all these comparisons. Ramana saw only the self. He did not see even the difference between man and a tiger. He saw divine in the tiger also, in the monkeys. The entire creation for him was divine. So, Swami Vivekananda's practical Vedanta and Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, the way in which he synthesized all the sections, and then Adi Shankaracharya. Before Adi Shankaracharya, we had the great masters, the Upanishads, the Vedic rishis. All these have given us this philosophy of Advaita Vedanta. It is the treasure of India. And this treasure is no longer the treasure of India. The whole world is profiting by this treasure. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan taught this at Oxford University. He wrote his book published in 1923, Indian Philosophy, is about Advaita Vedanta. Basically, though it deals with different streams of Indian philosophy, he promoted Advaita Vedanta of Adi Shankaracharya. And then his Hindu view of life, idealist view of life, his commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, on the Brahmasutra. He was a professor of philosophy, but nevertheless, he propagated Advaita Vedanta. And he also talked about the unity of mankind, the oneness of mankind. He drew his inspiration from Adi Shankaracharya. Acharya Shankara wrote not only wonderful commentaries and bhakti hymns, but through his life exemplified the dictum that divinity pervades everywhere. Everything is divine. The very purpose of human life is to understand that you are divine. Through so many stories in the Upanishads, the Chandogya Upanishad, we have the Satyakama Japala story. Through that story, we are taught not to judge someone based on his background, but judge him based on his character, on his value systems. In Vyada Gita and Mahabharata, the butcher teaches the Brahmin. Mahabharata repeatedly says nobody is a Brahmin by birth. It is a status that one has to reach. Subramony Bharati in modern times gave the Brahmopradesham, the knowledge of Brahman, to a member of the Harijan community and invested him with Yagnopavitam, trying to tell us that everyone is entitled to igno pavitam, so long as he has the spiritual maturity. Nobody is by birth a Brahmin. One has to become a Brahmin. So Vivekananda says the Brahmanatva, that is the greatest ideal, but it is meant for everyone, not for a particular section. The Brahmana ideal is a great ideal, but this knowledge of Brahman, this austere living by Bhiksha, all this must be inculcated by all different sections of the society. All of us must imbibe those values. There should be no arrogance or based on somebody's birth in a particular community. There should be equality of vision. And Vivekananda's message, the practical Vedanta message, it is this message that should be the guide in our modern times. We live in times of globalization, of materialism, of consumerism, of different problems, different difficulties. We have to keep Swadhyaya, studying the script, not just the scriptures, but the great masters, and understand that character and values are important. Man-making education that Swami Vivekananda talked about, the man-making education. Man-making, corruption is a major problem now. And it is the so-called educated people who are corrupt. And why does corruption come? Because of greed. Our Upanishads say, don't be greedy. The lives of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, of Kanji Paramacharya, Chandrasekharendra Saraswati Swami, of Sri Aurobindo, of Ramakrishna, Vivekananda. Vivekananda was a Parivrajaka who walked the length and breadth of the country as a Paramahamsa sannyasi, living on Bhiksha. That lifestyle should be inculcated by all of us. That will prevent corruption, greed. And we should understand caste is not by birth. It is something that the Chaturvarna system was not by birth. It was by your profession. Nobody is by birth a Brahmin. And this self-realization is beyond the intellect. The intellect is a trap. Intellect leads to arrogance. It is a very limited instrument. Self-realization is beyond the intellect. And we have created an intellectual civilization. We have to create an intuitive civilization. And we have to create a dharmic civilization, a civilization based on dharmic values, which respects all human beings, which values all human beings, which makes human beings understand that duty is more important than rights. We have to do our duty and only then talk about rights. Now people talk about rights and don't do duties. Duty is more important than rights. Foundations of the civilization should be based on dharmic values, for which the literature of Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Sri Aurobindo, Narayana Guru, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, this literature has to be taught to one and all. And we have to create a new civilization which is dharmic. Our ancient Indian civilization was unique, but over the period of time we lost our values and we became a civilization practicing adharmic customs. So we required great spiritual and social reformers who taught us the need to go back to our core values. The lifestyle that Tyagaraja Swami lived as Bhiksha, living on Bhiksha, he was an exemplar of simplicity, of total devotion to Lord Rama, of total devotion to the divine, like the great Bhakti saints like Andal, Meera, all those great Bhakti saints. Total consecration to the divine. So the Aurobindo states in Essays of Gita, real yajna is consecration to the divine. Consecrate each act of yours to the divine. So the relevance of Advaita Vedanta is to understand that the modern world, that everyone is divine, everything is divine. We have to lead a dharmic life, a value-based life. If you want further clarifications, or if you want me to elaborate on some more topics, and let us salute our acharyas. I thank you all for having given me this opportunity. And if you have any doubts or clarifications, please ask me.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you, doctor. That was really great talk by you to give us the light for the path to unity, harmony, coexistence, and happiness to all through the value-based education for synthesizing the suffering and bondage on the basis of the theoretical precepts of Advaita Vedanta propagated by Adi Shankaracharya ji and further followed by Swami Vivekananda and none other than Yogi Arvind. Fantastic. That was a really very nice synthesis. Do you allow me to ask some questions on behalf of the audience, please?
Yes,
There are four or
yes.
five questions. Okay, the first question is regarding the ninth incarnation of Vishnu, Buddha. A Buddha spread Buddhism and Shankara defeated Buddhism, and still Buddha is considered as a ninth incarnation of Vishnu. In your opinion, was he really ninth incarnation of Vishnu? If not, who is the ninth incarnation of Vishnu? This is the first question.
Shankaracharya, during Adi Shankara's time, we had a very degenerate form of Buddhism. Adi Shankaracharya had a lot of respect for Buddha. And we had from the 13th century a tradition of considering Buddha as an avatar of Mahavishnu, because Hinduism incorporated the best ideals of Buddhism. Hinduism is a synthesizing doctrine. It is flexible. It absorbed some of the noble values of Lord Buddha. Shankara Bhagavad fought some of the degenerate form of Buddhism, the Tantric Buddhism that existed in his time. He had a lot of respect for the original Lord Buddha.
Good. Okay, the next question is that a little bit of practical importance, how to train and help the youth to decondition from tamasic attitude to enable them to receive the teachings of either Shankara or Vivekananda or Arvind.
Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi said, happiness is a real nature. When we get headache, we want to go back to the pre-headache condition, he said. The pre-headache condition is a real nature. Similarly, we have to tell the young people not to be negative, not to be depressed, not to be egoistic. Have legitimate desires, dharmic desires, not have too many desires. We have to teach them literature of Swami Vivekananda, Ramana Maharshi, teach them values. And moreover, most importantly, we have to exemplify those values in our life so that they learn. Tell them small stories from the Puranas. The Puranas are condensed wisdom. Teach them slokas.
Yeah. Narratives, basically. Okay, next question was regarding Maya, but it was asked before you touched that subject in the speech itself. So I am skipping that question. What is Maya? You have already answered in the speech itself. The next question is one more question. Is it possible to realize Vedanta by oneself without going through the scriptures or say spiritual gurus?
Yeah, the guru is the embodiment of the scriptures. Follow the guru. The guru will take you to self-realization.
So it is basically it's not if theoretically not impossible, but practically it is really very difficult to realize Vedanta without having a guru to guide. That's what your view is, right?
Ramana said anything can be guru.
Oh, okay.
Even the book can be guru. Anything can be guru. There are so many. Bhagavan Ramana said the guru doesn't mean somebody in human form. Guru can appear in so many ways.
Yeah. Okay. There's one last question is regarding equality of vision. Is it an intellectual process or how to achieve it?
The intellect is a trap. Self-realization is beyond the intellect. Having that samadarshani, the samatva nature, has nothing to do with the intellect. The intellect,
so
the mind
it is not
very
intellectual
divisive.
Process. Yeah.
No. Mind is itself very divisive thing. It is the seat of the ego. The ego has to be destroyed.
So that question of incarnation, ninth incarnation is coming back again. So do you think that is Gautam Buddha is still ninth incarnation of Vishnu?
See, we as Hindus, we are very tolerant base. Let us learn the noble ideals of Lord Buddha.
Okay.
We, the best way of demolishing an enemy is to make him the best friend.
Friend.
Similarly,
that's great.
Similarly, let us learn the Hinduism absorbed the best from Buddhism. Hinduism absorbed the best from Jainism, thereby making both disappear from the land of their birth. The Buddhism disappeared from the land of its birth basically because Hinduism or vegetarianism is primarily from Jainism. And Buddha's compassion, Buddha took a lot from the Upanishads. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan said Buddha was a Hindu reformer. And he took a lot from the Upanishads.
Yeah. Thank you, Doctor, once again for giving an illuminating lecture and be kind to answer a few questions from our audiences. Thank you once again. Thank you very much. Thank you.